Do you actually like property? I'm confused here because I've seen a lot of content where you talk about not owning your own home, but you talk about having property. So do you like property or not? I've also seen you talk about seizure of property rights.
Yep.
So do you like property or not?
Well, firstly, the reason I say rent your own home is because it allows you to be flexible. I think that the most adaptable of the species survive, and rent is very flexible. It's flexible because one, you can move easily. Maybe you get a job opportunity in Japan, you have to bounce. Or maybe your country's about to lock down because of the common cold and you don't want to be stuck in your house. Rent is flexible.
Or you can move out and rent it out.
Completely. Well, that's if you own it, right? We
Yeah.
go into that, but then you have to find a tenant.
That's easy.
Well, perhaps that is
I've got
easy.
1,250 of them.
Okay, perfect. Then let me change it. Then perhaps you don't want to have anything to do with that country anymore and you have to sell it, and that's not quick, right? Another flexibility you have with rent is not paying it.
I've got tenants who don't do that.
You know better than me the law in the West.
Well, yeah,
you don't have to pay it for 6 months.
Pro tenant, yeah.
So you can just not pay it.
Yeah.
So maybe you're in a situation where.
But you can also vet a tenant properly, and then.
Correct.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, we're talking about flexibility. Darwin said the most adaptable of the species survives. This remains true. If you own a home, you are obliged to do X things. You can't not pay the mortgage, you lose the home. If you own the home, you have to upkeep it, etc. I'm saying if you rent a house, you can move if you get a better opportunity. You can move if the government becomes tyrannical, or if crime gets out of control, or something happens in your area which you're never going to know. And thirdly, a serious option is not paying it. And I don't want people to misunderstand me here. I'm not saying don't pay your rent. I'm saying if you have some information, let's say, the bull run that just happened, all that crap's over. But people were making money from thin air for crypto. Let's say you had some reliable information from people you trusted. Let's say those people have been right 100% of the time, and they said if you bought a particular coin, it was going to 1,000x. You could have missed rent for a month. And you could have paid it later. That's flexibility, right? So flexibility is also super important. So I always say the average person should rent where they live. I know that's strange because not everyone can rent. Someone has to own it. The people who own houses need to own them the way you own. If you own 1,250, you're doing very well. The way I own a house, it's not a mortgage. It's just give me this, beep, put on the card, bang, done. I own it, done. I don't live there. There's no work for me. If I had to sell it, I'd never need to sell it quick. I never need the money fast. It's something. It's just an asset. But that's why I say most people should rent until they're wealthy enough to buy it in cash. If you can't buy a house outright in cash, you shouldn't buy it. And even then, if you buy it, you need to be very careful. You need to make sure that that government is never going to turn on you. That area is never going to become downtrodden. And also understand that owning a house isn't free. There's property taxes, there's maintenance, there's upkeep. A lot of the time, by the time you pay all that shit, it's not far off rent.
Why would you not turn the bank system on themselves and get a mortgage on the property and leverage the bank's money and then have better opportunity cost of capital rather than buying houses for cash?
Absolutely, sure, that is a way you could do things. But now you're indebted to a bank. And it's fine if you have money from the sky, you can make money anywhere, that's fine, right? But if you are working a job, let's say in central London, and you owe money to this bank now because you've done it this way, that bank has a degree of control over you. You can't just quit your job. You can't just move. Things become very complicated. It just destroys your flexibility. To answer your question earlier, I don't own any property. I don't own anything. I own this suit, and that's it. So I don't own any property. Some friends of some trusts with some companies which are registered from Singapore may own some property.
Right.
I have the keys to, but I don't own anything.
So you have some assets under your control that are property, but you don't own them.
I don't have any. The Matrix hates me. I don't have anything. But I have some keys to some houses. And yeah, of course, they appreciate. Of course, you can rent them. I completely get it. But the truth is this. Property, like many other things, is very successful for some, but for most, I think it wrecks them. It's player versus player, like I said, in everything.